Welcome to the Sports Trading Card Hall of Fame. Today I'm going to be introducing Chapter 8. And in this chapter I am going to be elevating draft pick rookie cards to the binder of fame. I'm going to be talking about the Ken Griffey Jr. Upper Deck rookie card. And I also want to talk about image bleeding, or leaving borders off of cards so that the images run off. So these are the three topics that I'm going to be talking about this month. And I want to start off by elevating draft pick rookie cards to the binder of fame. Now, for draft pick rookie cards, the big thing about these cards is the fact that, well, today they are a ubiquitous part of the sports card world. You can't think of sports cards today without thinking about rookie cards. Of all of the pillars that modern cards are held up upon, this is the cornerstone part of the whole card world, which is it's all about these rookie cards that are now emerging, and we're going to follow them right from the very beginning when they become players or when they start their career all the way through to the end. And it's weird to look back at 1988 and realize those unproven players were not showing up in card sets. Even by 1989 in baseball, there were only a couple of them that were featured in Topps. Other than that, every player was a prospect card. He was already in the minor leagues. And so, yes, even that iconic Ken Griffey Jr. rookie card is really a prospect card, because it wasn't just Upper Deck. They had one in Fleer, they had one in Don Russ, they had one in Bowman as well. Available in packs. He was not this special player that was discovered by Upper Deck. And that's part of the mythology of the card, is that it was this one special thing that Upper Deck did that nobody else did. Well, most people did it, actually. So the reason we don't really worry about draft pick rookie cards in baseball is because the 1989 Topps set, those draft pick rookie cards didn't lead to anything. Topps did it again in 1990, they did it again in 1991, but nobody bothered to get into it for very good reason. Nobody cares about the top draft pick of the rookie class in baseball because they're unproven. And it's that unproven component which is so fundamental to the difference between a prospect card, which is what the Ken Griffey Jr. rookie card is, and a true draft pick rookie card, which is what the Barry Sanders rookie card is. And to be fair, college football does act as the minor league for the NFL. However, they're different sports. It doesn't matter if you're playing single A ball, double A ball, triple A ball. That's baseball scaled down. It's the same sport. You just don't know if the timing, if the coordination, if all of that's going to translate to the pros. That's the big thing about the minor leagues, is it is scaling things up. Whereas for college football, it's literally a different sport. You can be the best quarterback in the history of college football, and nobody knows if you're even going to be able to be successful in the pros. It's a very different discussion. And so in 1989, when Score launched their first football card set, and they included a bunch of draft pick rookie cards, they had players in there who would be successful, like Troy Aikman, and players who wouldn't, like Tony Mandrich, because it really is a big question mark of, is a player going to be successful or not? So it's a bold move to go out and make a draft pick rookie card and to say this player is hopefully, probably going to be a success down the road. Now, the 89 rookie card set, or rookie card class that we talk about for Score, is kind of interesting because we only talk about the draft pick players, but we don't talk about the fact that it was also the rookie cards of Thurman Thomas, Sterling Sharp, and Michael Irvin, who were no slouch of players either. I mean, Tim Brown was a rookie card in that. These guys were getting their first rookies in that set, and so they should be a part of the conversation. But we draw a line in the sand between those two because they are the two different worlds that come crashing together. We have the old world where a player has already proven themselves and is now worthy of being in the set, like all those players, or the player has not yet proven himself, and now everything is about to start, and there's an excitement to that. And so even in 1989 Score, there is a very clear difference between a very, very good 1988 draft class that had some really strong stars, but a very large number of stars. I mean, think about it. You got Carter, you got Brown, you got Irvin, and you got Thurman Thomas, who are all, I think they're all in the Hall of Fame at this point. Yeah, I believe they've all made it in. And then you've also got Sterling Sharp, who should be in the Hall of Fame. That's an impressive draft class. It just doesn't happen to be at the level of Barry Sanders and Troy Aikman and Derek Thomas and Deion Sanders. But that's nitpicking, because you throw in Steve Atwater and you've basically got 5 for 5 of Hall of Famers, or in the case of the 88 draft, they're supposed to be Hall of Famers. It's very close, but there's an iconic quality to those cards in 1989 in that score set. And that's something that would happen down the road, year after year after year after year, is the fact that every card set in football and in basketball was defined by rookie cards. In fact, it was very rare that you would even find a card set that didn't have rookie cards, and in that case, it was usually a Series 1 in basketball that didn't need them, but may still have a trade card or a couple of trade cards for rookies thrown in for good measure. In football, it was almost impossible to find a set like SPX in 1996 that had 0 rookie cards in them. It became a standard expectation in every single set. But then over in baseball, they always had prospects. And over there, the battle of, do you get the draft pick cards in there, or is it the prospect card that's the rookie, or the draft pick rookie, or what about the rookie card itself? Because rookie cards in baseball were different than prospects and draft picks. It was a big mess, and they were constantly playing around with it. But in baseball, they really needed to get as many of these cards out there as they could, so they started doing whole rookie card sets. Whole sets dedicated where every single pack was just filled with prospects, rookies, well, not rookies, draft. I don't know, it's a mess. They never figured it out either. But they needed to do this because what was started in 1989 with score football and was very quickly caught up with 1989 Pro Set Series 2 to have in packs rookie cards, and a lot of rookie cards in there. That became an expectation for all cards moving forward, and we would never be able to look back. It would end up becoming the definition of sports card collecting, because we all wanted to find the rookie cards, but the need to have those rookie cards right at the front end and have a lot of options was one of the most important parts of chasing cards in the 90s, and today it is the core of it. It really is the core of sports card collecting. So I'm going to go a little bit more into talking about it in a separate video. I want to go on and now talk about the rookie card that people think is a draft pick rookie card but is not, which is the Ken Griffey Jr. rookie card, specifically in Upper Deck. This is about as iconic of a card as you're going to get. And the reason for that is because, so every generation has their player or players that are the players that define their sport. For anybody growing up in the 80s and 90s, that player is Michael Jordan. He is the overarching great athlete of all time. Bo Jackson was supposed to be, but he unfortunately got injured a little bit too early, or a lot bit too early, and so he was never able to cement the endurance that he otherwise would have had. So Michael Jordan stands as the Mickey Mantle of the 80s and 90s. But if you're a hockey fan, then that's obviously Gretzky. And if you're a baseball fan, well, that's Ken Griffey Jr. And so they are the sports-specific superstars of the era. Football doesn't have it because it's way too complex of a sport. Way too many players are playing integral parts, so you never have that one player who stands above everybody else and carries a team. In basketball, you can kind of do that. In hockey, you can kind of do that. In baseball, it's a little bit harder, but baseball is an isolationist sport. It is the batter against the pitcher, or the pitcher against the batter, whichever direction you want to look at. And there are a bunch of ancillary players as well, but it all comes down to the dude holding the bat and the dude throwing the ball. That is baseball at its core. And so that means that it is a single man sport within the umbrella of a multiplayer sport. But you're wondering, okay, what is this player going to do at this given time? And because the sport is built that way, it allows these iconic gods of players to really stand out. And we've had so many over the years. But there's always a cycle to popularity with players, and every player goes through that. And so that means that Ken Griffey Jr. came out in a time where he was able to be the big star, except he happened to be under the umbrella of Bo Jackson, and there was a big, big shadow behind him. And then you had players like Frank Thomas, who came up and he had his moment. You had Jose Canseco, who was having a really good run. You had Mark McGwire, who kind of continued on that tradition of Jose Canseco. You had all of these players who came and went, and they all had their period where they were at their height. Ken Griffey Jr.'s height would have been 1994 had the strike not happened, because he would have had a viable run at the home run record and was tragically robbed of that, which would have been his big moment to reach that superstar level in his playing days. But he was always the guy just behind. Take, for instance, the big home run derby between Mark McGwire and Sammy Sosa. Everybody talks about those two guys because of the fact that they did reach the home run record, and for another reason that was not quite as illustrious. But what people tend to forget is that when you were back in July heading into August, it was a three-man neck-and-neck race where Ken Griffey Jr. was right there with them. But then, for some reason, there was a late-season burst where McGwire and Sosa just kind of cleared Ken Griffey Jr. and made a real good run at the record, and Ken was kind of lost in the dust. And even now, when people talk about it, they don't talk about Ken Griffey Jr. as being an equal member of the home run derby. Then Barry Bonds came along and hit the reset button on all of that, but Griffey never left. And the reason he's been able to endure so well is that he, like Cal Ripken Jr., was just always there. Always at the top of his game. And as you look back over time, you just go, man, he was always, always there. And so even though Ken Griffey Jr. for his career was always the great standard of that nice guy, that fun guy, all these wonderful things, he never died away. And so that means that now he is remembered even more fondly than any of the other players because of the consistency of always being a fan of him. He never had a down time. Even when he got injured, he was still a great player that everybody loved. He still did the right thing, all of the things that you needed. And while all this was going on, there was this one rookie card of his, the Upper Deck rookie card, that was so iconic. And it happened to be all the right things. It happened to be in a ridiculously overrated set, the 1989 Upper Deck set, that everybody looked back at and said that was the greatest set of all time. It was card number 1. People like to look at it as an unproven rookie, which isn't really the case, that kicked off the set. There's an iconic look to it, on and on and on. Now, again, 89 Upper Deck is insanely overrated, but it did all the things that a generation needed to have an iconic card that was their iconic card, because we all look back at that set that everybody wanted to get, that was overpriced at the time, so it had a huge amount of value. There was a theoretical rarity to those cards that existed as well. It had a very distinct look to it, and it was the player of our generation. So it did all the things that it needed to do, and so for an entire generation, we all were able to look back at that one card and see it as our 52 Mantle card. That's what it was. It was that card that defined sports card collecting for baseball during that era. And it was able to do a wonderful job of maintaining that because it happened to be a rookie card of a guy who was the right guy for it. I want to get more into it in a separate video, but basically that's kind of the nature of the 1989 Upper Deck Ken Griffey Jr. rookie card. A lot of things I got to specify, but at any rate, that is about as iconic of a baseball card as you're ever going to see in the modern era. But the last subject I wanted to talk about is image bleeding, or getting rid of the card border. And this is something that I really cannot overstate how important this was for the evolution of sports cards in the modern world. It's something that is difficult to really quantify because of the fact that the whole point of an iconic card is that there's got to be an iconic look to the card. Well, the border is almost always what does that. Although in the case of the Griffey rookie card that we were just talking about, the border is about as it's got a look to it, but it's not a border that stands out. But that's the thing, is normally when we think of an iconic card, the border is the thing that defines that card from any other. And so when you get rid of the border, you've lost the iconic look of the card, right? Well, not necessarily. And that's the thing about 1990 Pro Set that's so significant, is that that one card set came out and it created a whole new language for cards that would be one of the most important aspects of the evolution of cards in the 90s leading up to the cards as we know them today, where in 1990 they got rid of two of the borders. And by doing that, the card image was able to flow off. It completely changed the image. No longer could we look at images in the same way, because a border, by its very nature, is restrictive. It holds you in, it contains. So that means that a picture is confined in a card. And you don't think about it until you see a card that does stretch out and it gains freedom. And when you see that, it looks different. Everything about the card is different. And 1990 Pro Set did exactly that. It hit the reset button in the way that people like to think that Upper Deck did in 1989. And there was a massive amount of change in the hobby that happened as a result, where over with baseball, Upper Deck didn't really cause much to happen. You had Leaf that joined the hobby, but other than that, there wasn't this massive change that happened in the hobby. Like in 1991, we would see finally the ripple effects of a high-end card set. Pro Set, it was immediate. 1990 Pro Set, they got rid of two of the borders. Later in the year, Action Pack did their All Madden cards with a 3/4 bleed card. And then in 1990, not only did you have Pro Set and Platinum with no borders, you had Pro Line with no borders. Well, you also had Stadium Club with no borders. And Ultra. Ultra did the same thing that Pro Set had done in 1990. They just redid it with silver in 1991. But all of a sudden, the borders are disappearing. And by 1994, nearly the entire hobby would be borderless. But this is where the borderless story gets pretty difficult, because, like I said, the border is usually what defines the iconic nature of the card. So if you get rid of the border, how does your card stand out? And that was something that card companies would have a difficult time with down the road, where in 1994 you got to see just how hard it was. And card companies, by and large, started returning to borders over the next couple of years, but not necessarily entirely bordered cards. So there was this struggle to try to figure out how to take advantage of just what a borderless card could do, while also maintaining the look that a card needed to have. And so that was a wonderful exploration in 90s cards, where you got to see some wonderful train wrecks and you got to see some wonderful accomplishments. 1995 Pinnacle and 1995 Upper Deck give a great opportunity to see side-by-side cards that are iconic, that have their own look of the exact same card. And that was, seeing that level of refinement in design was in large part because of trying to figure out this whole borderless card design approach. When you get rid of the border, you really have to pay attention to the quality of what you're doing. And that really did play a big role. But the big thing was, for an era that was still built around sports, which is what 90s cards or early 90s cards were about. It was about sports, it was about teams, it was about players within that realm. It was about being a fan. That's what sports cards were about. And borderless cards took the action and made the action vivid, it made it real, it made it close, tactile, it brought you into the game. That was the gift that borderless cards, or with image bleeds, that's the gift that it gave us. And it gave a whole sub-generation of card collecting the opportunity to experience the game and to really feel attached to the game. A wonderful tribute that I want to go more in depth in a separate video. But I'm going to leave this video here. But these are the three subjects that I want to talk more in depth in this month. So again, I'm elevating draft pick rookie cards to the binder of fame. I'm going to talk about the 89 Upper Deck Ken Griffey Jr. rookie card, and I'm going to go more into this whole subject of borderless cards. So definitely look out for those videos. And if you're curious about the other stories that I've talked about with sports cards and the other cards and subjects that I've elevated to the binder of fame, feel free to check out the other videos. And yeah, thank you very much for watching.